Hey, everyone. Welcome to Unique Ways with Thomas Gerard, an audio podcast. We have a notable guest on today. She's a solution strategy researcher who created a method that lets teams clarify, measure, and grow their solutions and audience based on thinking styles. She works with teams on knowledge building projects. She also teaches 6 applied research courses, writes books and essays, makes talks and podcast appearances, and pens helpful posts on LinkedIn. Please join me in welcoming Indi Young. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. I hope all is going well in your part of the world
Yeah. Are you
as
ready
opposed
for
to
20
ours.
questions? Yeah. Are you ready for 20 questions?
Sure.
Great. Question one. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
Well, that's a very open-ended question. I make a lot of cookies. I garden. Do you want something about my career, perhaps?
Totally up to you.
Okay, sure. Right now, because AI has sucked all the budget out of the world, I used to be helping clients with these projects, building durable knowledge for them to use over the course of a decade. And that's kind of gone by the wayside now. So I'm working on a fourth course, which is about thinking styles. And it's a really deep dive into thinking styles. I've spent, oh gosh, I don't know, probably 12 months so far working on it. And I'm really happy with how it's coming out. It's going to teach us a little bit right now. Actually, I'm writing the lesson about how a lot of the deep knowledge that we get about people is from marketing or measuring our market or total addressable market. And it tends to be very full of demographics. It tends to be full of assumptions about the behaviors of those people. Or it might be observations about people, whereas the kind of information that I like to help people build from is cognition. So, what went through somebody's mind as they were trying to get something done. We listen to a ton of people who are trying to do that same thing, and then we pull the inner thinking, their emotional reactions, and their personal rules out of all the stories that they tell us.
Great. So if you guys are interested in other big 2025 episodes, please check out our fun episode with Liz Danzico. So question two, what's a key piece of knowledge that makes you different?
Hey, I know Liz. Hi, Liz. A key piece of knowledge that makes me different. What? Well, from the other methods out there, the key piece of knowledge that I work with is cognition. So the cognition is specifically someone's inner thoughts, like you would see in a thought bubble in a cartoon. And I actually use a lot of cartoons and comic strips to help teach this. It also is their emotional reactions to things that are happening around them or to them, things that people are saying to them, pressure that they're under, projects that they're working on, whatever the thing is. And it's also their personal rules. And these are, I used to call them guiding principles, but everybody thought guiding principles were values. I'm like, no, 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 no. These are personal rules. They're things that you build over the course of your lifetime based on experiences that you have. For example, uh, one person may not like to go to the hospital to visit any of her friends because in the past, her mom and her aunt both died in the hospital while she was visiting. And so there's just like this little, she doesn't want to jinx it for her friends. And so she won't go to the hospital to visit. And that's a personal rule.
Great. Okay, so question three, why this of all things? Why do you do what you do?
My big passion is helping teams discover that they can build much more solutions for a much broader audience. There's a lot of people out there that may approach a particular goal or purpose in a slightly different way. It's called a different thinking style. And thinking styles are ripe for judgment. So, for example, if you and I are both doing laundry, we need something clean to wear. That's our goal or our purpose. And you might go about doing your laundry differently than me. And we might judge each other's approach to doing laundry and therefore assume that the other person does not have a good ability for doing laundry, right? So we're looking at this pile of dirty clothes in somebody's bedroom and judging, whereas instead we could be supporting. This happened really clearly with an airline I was working with, and the passenger who gets very upset when there's a delay and goes up and yells at the gate attendants, and you can hear it clear across the boarding lounge. You've probably experienced this. Anyway, this is the person that team used to call the grumbler. They're just like terrible people. They grumble at everyone at every point in their life. They yell at traffic, they yell at their kids. These are terrible people. And once I finally got them to realize that that was just a thinking style, a hat the person had on their head for that particular moment, and it was a valid hat, and they were not that thinking style for any other part of their journey with the airline, nor with traffic, nor with their kids, right? The one thing that we are looking at, which is, trying to board the plane, this was a part of. And this thinking style was not being a grumbler. This thinking style was frustrated by the struggle. And it appeared in a lot of different instances. It would show up in going through security lines and things like that.
Mm.
So, this idea of judgment happens in a lot of teams. And when we allow that team to recognize the validity, say we've got a story about a person, a character who has booked a flight home from a conference with many hours to spare so that they can be at their 5-year-old's first piano recital, then you're like, oh, actually, we could probably help that person. I mean, there's nothing we can do about the delay, but we could probably give this person free Wi-Fi so they could FaceTime in or, video in with somebody else who's at the recital. Maybe give them a pass to the lounge where they could do it in a fairly quiet place and easy, right? That person is no longer the frustrated with the struggle. I mean, yes, they're disappointed, but they are human and they recognize that there's nothing the airline can do about the delay, especially if it's like weather or something like that. So, as soon as the team recognizes this, they can start making solutions. And the other thing that thinking styles really helps with is this idea that we want to make one solution that does everything for quote unquote the average user. And there's no such thing as the average user. And we end up trying to define the average user using assumptions, using some of our market research, using observed behaviors and assumptions about what's actually going through someone's mind. And when instead we use thinking styles, oh my gosh, it's so much clearer what we get to make for someone.
Mm, great. So some people struggle with number four, and the question is, what does your future look like?
Well, if it's the future that I'm trying to make happen, we're going to be considering thinking styles in a lot of different areas. Just so I'm a contractor, and so that means you have to sign up to be a vendor at various large companies, and you have to go through their little forms process, right?
Mm.
And on their form, they say, what kind of company are you? And one of those selections is sole proprietor, which means you're just you. And then the rest of the form goes on to say things like, well, please fill out, the person who's in accounts receivable. Please then also give us the contact information for the person who's going to be doing the work. Oh, and also please do a double signature. We can't accept just a single signature. And I'm like, didn't I just check sole proprietor? And doesn't that mean one person? So there's just like, even in that situation, when the accounting department within a large company is sending out a form to a vendor and they recognize that they could be a sole proprietor, they could ask that question up front and send a different form, or they could make their form interactive, right?
Mm.
So that's just one example. The airline example was another one. There's a lot of different examples, even within being able to recognize, if you're a manager, recognize what your employees are going through. If you're a good manager, your whole point is to make your employees um, really grow, help them grow so that their capabilities grow, so that the things that they make together are high quality. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, that's kind of your goal. But oftentimes people don't spend time listening to their employees or recognizing where they are, what thinking style they're in. I did some work for an organization that was going through restructuring, and there were going to be layoffs. And it was a huge company and everybody knew it. And so the group who was running sort of this part of HR, so like, hey, let's go figure out thinking styles so that we can give our managers a way to talk to these people who are on their team about restructuring in a way that suits their thinking style.
Mm.
So there was a thinking style that was like, yeah, I'm here. I see what the problem is, and I'm going to be part of the solution. Versus there was a thinking style that's like, yeah, no, I'm out of here. You guys are not giving me what you promised when you gave me this job, and now this is happening. So no, bye-bye. And there were three others as well, but a manager who knew those thinking styles was able to then speak to each employee differently. And these were not all white collar workers either. So the thinking style really helped managers try to save their best employees through this restructuring. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, so five we say is unique to this show. The question is, let's talk about location. How does the notion of place play into what you do?
That one's going to be the hard one for me. I work with people all over the world, and people from all over the world join my practice groups when I run with them. And I usually do practice groups for one of the courses. And I also have a team that meets together on Tuesdays, and we're in all the different time zones. And and we have lots of places represented. So I think the way that I would talk about that instead of a physical location would be a mental mindset.
Mm.
So the location of everyone's mind is, hey, there's a lot of opportunity on the table. We are leaving out vast successes that we could have. And now that AI is here, perhaps we could even use AI to help us bring much better outcomes to people. People have something in mind that they want to get done before they reach for your tool or any other tool that they might also use to get that thing done. You're not the only tool in their arsenal. And when they reach for your tool, what we're interested in doing is making sure we understand so well exactly what they're trying to get done, not in terms of a process, but in terms of their approach to their goal and their thinking style. So I also help teams develop things called mental model skylines,
Mm.
which maps out everybody's approach. There are uh, hierarchies that grow out of it. There are groups that grow out of it. It's emergent qualitative data synthesis. So we don't know what these hierarchies are going to be. We don't know what the groups are going to be, but they come out and they're very clear and they're very easily understood by the team and they last for 10 years. So one of the things we can do is we can sort of layer thinking styles on top of a skyline and see places where we're not doing so well or where there's an opportunity that we could actually double down on. For example, that idea of the grumbler as a passenger, when we recognized what was happening there, the goal, that person's goal for that whole day was to get home in time for their child's first piano recital. That's how that actor, that character acted in that episode story. And so now we have a very clear understanding that it's not that they're upset only at our service. They're upset at not being able to accomplish their goal despite the fact they did everything they could to make it possible. They left like 8 hours before the recital, and now they're 8 hours late. So, you know, once we understand that, we're able to really get creative when we're going to try to support people.
Mm. Perfect. So six, you're starting from the beginning. What advice do you give your former younger self?
Um, well, I did get some advice from someone, which I now give to other younger selves who are out there, which was I had this understanding that I wanted to give talks, but A, I was really, really, really shy. And B, I didn't have anything to say. Like what would I talk about? And my friend's husband at the time, we were out hiking. I even remember where we were on the trail when he told me this. He says, Indy, you don't have to know something unique. You are unique and your approach to things is unique, and people will be interested in it no matter what it is. So, you could tell somebody about the way that you make cookies, and there's probably something unique about it, and people will be interested. I mean, there are plenty of YouTube videos out there about it. So that's the advice that I think really helped me out. It gave me confidence that I didn't have to have, like, create something or have some sort of an equation or some sort of data that was really, really unique that I needed to tell people about. Instead, I could just tell people about the approach that I was taking, which turned out to be unique. But it was the approach that I was seeing teams get a lot of success out of building quality solutions
Mm.
that gave quality outcomes for people.
Mm. Great.
Yeah.
Seven, what's a day in your life like?
Um, Well, it's kind of shifted now that I'm trying to double down since the AI budget vortex appeared on the timeline horizon. The I've shifted into really learning how to talk about this in a way that will be interesting for teams who in particular are in these build cycles where it feels a little bit like a factory and it feels a little bit like the managers of that factory line only want it to go faster and they don't care whether what's made is of use. And what I'm doubling down on is trying to explain what I do because it allows you to still have a factory line, but as a part of that factory line, you access this durable knowledge, this skyline, these thinking styles. You can access that because it's already been made. You took a couple months off to make it at one point, or some other team made it for you. And you can access it from within that factory line. Yeah, it's not going to be just one discussion like they really would prefer it, but you can have something of much higher quality happen in terms of ideation and crafting that idea into various solutions within a week or two, as opposed to what the managers are fearful that it would be, many, many months to figure these things out. Now, I think there's a little secret there that we all know, which is it really does take months, but we can pretend for them that we're running a factory line. But we just need better ideas all the time. I see teams say, okay, so we're going to test this idea. We're going to do a hypothesis about this solution idea that we have. Where did that idea come from? That's my question.
Mm,
Normally, it does not come from any sort of durable knowledge about what people are trying to get done. It comes from maybe some observation, like I said earlier, maybe some marketing data, but no real knowledge of people's cognition. And once you have that, the whole scenario becomes much clearer. In addition, we can actually do this for very complex situations. So if you're trying to build something, especially like in healthcare, and there's a lot of inputs and there's a lot of decisions that affect other decisions that affect other decisions, um, we can figure that out. We can put that into the skyline. We can see people's cognition forming into approaches. We can see people's cognition forming into thinking styles around those approaches. And then we can build something to support that complexity in a much more valuable way. And all of us around the world like to say, yeah, we won't even need salespeople anymore. We won't need to sell this stuff. People, it will be fitting exactly the way that they want to get something done. But the thing that they want to get done is the thing they want to get done. They don't care which tool they use for it, right?
mm,
Now, if we're using a tool, if we're building a tool that is allowing them to get that thing done in a way that opens their eyes, we won't need to sell it.
mm.
I mean, we won't need salespeople. That's what we mean.
Perfect. Eight is about lifelong learning. It's a popular topic. How do you stay up to date?
I listen to podcasts. I read people's newsletters. I follow people. I occasionally look at various posts and things on LinkedIn. That's it's it's pretty much like that. There are meetups that I'll go to occasionally,
Mm.
conferences, where you get to chat with people.
Great.
Yeah.
And nine is about tools. Can you talk about your use of digital and or analog tools?
Well, let's see. I'm a minimalist, and so I like to have a desk that's pretty clean. But while I'm building this new course, I have at least like 6 or 8 pages of notes strewn around on my desk. So that's one part of it. But the way that I do notes, um, is more in terms of a checkbox item. And as soon as I can get all the checkboxes done on one of these pages, I throw it out. I put it in the recycling. And that makes me feel good. But because when you're creating something, this happens. You you'll come up with an idea in the weirdest place. Like for me, it's out walking or hiking, or it's in the middle of the night. Because I end up getting up in the middle of the night and doing a bunch of stretching. And then when I go back to bed, I'm like, oh, how about that? So I've got a notebook there. I'm writing stuff down. When I'm out hiking, I'll dictate it into the phone and send it to myself as an email. Um, yeah, that I being able to catch the ideas when they come. I mean,
Mm,
half the time you look at them in the morning and you're like, okay, yeah, that was nice, but no. But every once in a while, there's one that like just really pulls everything together.
mhm,
And that's what I'm trying to capture. But we had this discussion with my team, my Tuesday meeting team, where a lot of people like keep their notebooks and make them beautiful. And I know one of your guests, Kelly Go To, she's got like two notebooks, one for one thing, one for the other, and she's very artistic and puts little drawings in them and everything. They're beautiful. Her handwriting is gorgeous. Mine, I don't think anyone could read it except me. Um, and my idea is to throw these things out because then they have taken on a life either in a book. I'm also updating the book Time to Listen right now. So they either take on a life in a book or take on a life in a course or in a presentation that I'm making. I do a lot of presentations
mm,
for teams internal conferences and also public conferences.
mm. Great. So halfway number 10, how do you deal with work life or life work balance?
Not well. I'm sorry. I knew somebody back in the day when I was in my 30s. I was a climber, a rock climber, and one of my climbing partners had this saying. He says, and I don't, gosh, what did he do? He might have been a UX designer, or he might have been a coder, or he might have been sort of in between both of those, or across both of those. But he would say, like, you know, it doesn't matter. Work and not work are the same to me. So I'm like always thinking of work things, but I'm always doing non-work things. And so when he's out climbing, he's thinking of work things. And when he's making dinner, he's thinking of work things. Oh, he was a very good cook too. And just remembered that about him. Um, and I couldn't do it. I tried it. I'm like, no, no. There's a place for work, and then there's time for me to do my own life. And I was very good about that. I wouldn't even look at my email over the weekends until kind of the last 15 years. And now I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, this is not what that guy meant, but I'm just constantly working.
Nice. So if you weren't doing what you do now, what might you be doing?
Um, that's actually a really lovely question. I think I would be spending more time. Well, I know I would be spending more time with my parents, with my nieces, with family members. I got a chance to help my dad's cousin move into an independent living facility, and that was really fun to spend a bunch of days helping move her furniture around and put pictures on the wall and chat and chat and chat. So, so yeah, kind of like just being around people. But yeah, I don't know. I probably would volunteer at the community center that's local here, teaching English as a second language, probably, because I know Spanish pretty well.
Mm.
And a lot of folks who speak Spanish are moving into town, and I want them to have a good chance, a good experience. And so I would do that, maybe go to some schools. I was just talking to someone's daughter who just graduated, and I'm talking to her about getting registered to vote. Her eyes are all big, like, oh, that sounds scary. And I'm like, well, didn't they talk to you about it at high school? She's like, no, they didn't. I'm all like, maybe I should go talk to some students, just like to make it less scary,
Mm.
to make it more approachable. Um, stuff like that, I guess.
Great. So 12, what would you not like to do with your career?
Uh, that's a weird question. I don't think I've ever considered that answer. Could I say I would not like to be working at a big corporation?
Yes, you.
There.
Okay. 13, a favorite word, quote, or sentence?
Uh, no, I'm not really big on favorites.
Mm.
People ask me, what's your favorite app? I'm like, I don't have a favorite app. None of the apps work great. They're all a pain in the ass. Um, uh, Shoot. Yeah, no, nothing's coming up for me here.
Okay.
Yeah.
14 is similar. It's least favorite word, quote, or sentence.
Yeah, no, not gonna
Okay.
not gonna be
Okay.
helpful with that one. Sorry.
Maybe 15. If you were to choose one word to describe yourself, what word would you choose?
Creator.
What keeps you up at night?
Pain, unable to breathe. The various things. Like, is this an allergy? Should I go take an allergy pill? I can't breathe. That was me last night. So, yeah.
Okay. Final stretch here. What's a dream you're chasing?
Well, the one that I've been describing, all
Mm.
about trying to spread the idea of building for variety. I think I've got one more book in me,
Mm.
which is I think I would title it Towards Variety.
Mm,
It's like getting away from the one ring that would rule them all. It's more looking at building products similar to the way that we look at governing ourselves as a democracy.
mm,
It's all about variety, and variety is what helps us be resilient. It's what helps us come up with solutions.
mm,
It's what's going to help us try to reduce climate change. If we were all like just marching to the same drum, our creativity will get stifled. You see this happening in all sorts of different countries. I'm very close to someone who was in Venezuela when the dictator de jure took over, and she got out because what has happened there has not done anything good for the creativity of the folks. Um, right? It's just, yeah,
mm.
that's what we need.
So 18, what inspires you?
Oh, all the people that I talk to and hear from, everyone, especially people who have been at the front lines trying to work with these leaders who want us to produce solutions like a factory. Um, they have amazing stories. They're resilient. They have a variety of different ways that they went about doing the same thing. And that's inspiring to me. The fact that people are still there, it's inspiring that they're still able to laugh and they're still interested in thinking about hard projects. They still have that skill, no matter how, well, I guess all of these people are laid off, so no matter how many times they've been laid off. Um, so it's like you've still got it. It hasn't been beaten down yet because we know that, and this is the one thing that I do think that this large language model, voice interaction, being able to um, pull together a variety of existing things to build new ideas. I'm all about pulling together non-existing things to build new ideas. Non-existing meaning it doesn't exist within your organization. So an LLM cannot build a mental model skyline. It cannot build thinking styles because those don't exist anywhere in its training data. So what I like to see, though, is that as we recognize that we've got a lot of valid perspectives and approaches, thinking styles that we could support, that maybe the way or the mechanism of figuring out which support to offer someone can be done through conversational interfaces or can be done through various ways of recognizing thinking styles.
Mm,
So we can harness that.
great. Last couple here. Number 19, any advice you'd like to share?
Uh, mm, I need a frame for that. I offer advice every day, but it always is within a frame. Someone just the other day asked me for advice about learning how the people who are in a role that is a service role. So these people have clients. And she wants to understand how they deal with a question from a client when they don't know the answer. And she says, I thought Indy's method would be a really great way to do it. Do some listening sessions, figure out some thinking styles, try to see if across a lot of these we've got some sort of emergent patterns coming up that would show us some approaches. Well, a coworker of this person who asked me for advice told this person, "Oh, you should do ride-alongs." And my advice was no, that would be disastrous because it's a very sensitive situation. Not only would the client feel really awkward about having a third person in the room, with this advisor that they're talking to. But the advisor themselves is putting themselves in a situation where they look bad. And they don't want to do that in front of you and a client. No way. No, that's not going to happen. So that was the advice there. There's some advice. Don't do a ride along in situations like that.
Great. And finally, number 20, how can our listeners keep tabs on you and what's our call to action?
Call to action. See if you're interested, if this resonates, see if there's anyone else at your org that this resonates with. Read some of my newsletters. I've got a bunch of posts on LinkedIn. I've got a ton of stuff up on my website. I've got a book called Time to Listen. I also have two books with Rodenfeld Media, which were earlier versions of Time to Listen.
Mhm.
And I have courses. The courses are university level courses. They are really amazing. People are so excited about how they learn in them. However, you might not be ready for that right now. So take a taste. That's the call to action. Sign up for my newsletter. You can do that on LinkedIn, or better yet, sign up for my newsletter on my website, which is indiyoung.com. So INDIYOUNG. I say better yet because LinkedIn is one of those platforms that is earning from all of us being creators on it. And it's not so great. I would love to have you on my direct newsletter where right now it's on Substack, but it's only on the free one, and I'm moving it as soon as I can. But where I can help you out with ideas, right? I also have a Slack where people ask each other questions about this all the time. There are people doing this in so many different cultures. What the person who wrote the foreword for my book, she did it at a refugee camp in somewhere in deep in Persia area. So this is a really powerful way of understanding people. It's a powerful way not only of making products, but of making policies that work for more than one way of doing things and for making services. So if this resonates, check out all those possible ways to learn more.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on today. It's such a pleasure and privilege to have you on. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas.